Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Israel Issue, when we snapshot the truth about Israel, the church, and we think about what that means for believers like you and me today. In this episode, we are going to expose the great deception which lay behind the church coming to believe that it had replaced Israel in God's purposes. And we really need to understand what that is about for two very different reasons. First of all, if you're going to defeat any enemy, you have to have penetrated your enemy's strategy. But then secondly, for ourselves personally, if we're going to rework our own thinking about this, and reworking thinking on any subject is never an easy thing to do. But if we're going to do it on this very particular subject, we have to become convinced that it really is worthwhile. And it's a little bit like if you're doing up the buttons on your shirt, you get to the top and you find you've got one button left over. You've got to think it's worthwhile to undo all those buttons you've just done up to get down to that bottom button in order to do it up properly. It's got to matter to you. And here's what matters about the great deception, which is that you and I and the church as a whole has been had for a second time over by the very same question the devil used, first of all, to lead astray created man, and then to lead astray recreated man. And it begins with four little words in one question which say, did God really say? Second time round, the devil added the phrase, did God really say that Israel still has a continuing place in the plan of God? Now, first of all, he didn't make much progress with that because all the first believers were Jewish. They were extremely clear that the Jewish Messiah had come to fulfill the prophecies they had in their Jewish scriptures, both to and through Israel. It's what made sense of them being saved. It gave them their purpose. This is why they were enabled to turn the world upside down. But as time went on, more and more Gentile believers joined the church, and they got sucked into this question of maybe the church had replaced Israel in God's purposes. So that by the time we get to around the year 325, when the so-called conversion of Constantine took place, the church was then officially disconnected from anything Jewish. Notwithstanding the fact that Yeshua, which is the real name of Jesus, was Jewish through and through. Now, we can see through the devil's thinking just by, in a sense, imagining the church was like a ship which was disconnected from its moorings, and as we know with any ship that's set free to drift, sooner or later it's going to hit the rocks somewhere. And that's what did indeed happen to many parts of the church. But there was something much deeper to his strategy. And to understand that, we really need to go back to the story of Esther and to his inciting of Haman to eliminate the Jewish people completely. Clearly, even that far back, the devil had seen that the Jewish people were absolutely crucial to God turning round what he had achieved through that first use of his question, did God really say, with the first created man, Adam. Now, the Haman plan didn't work out, and in the short term, the Jewish people didn't give the devil in his strategy, too much of a problem because they were not really delivering on their calling, which they'd been given in Isaiah 49 verse 6, and which says this: "You shall be a light to the Gentiles, that you should be my salvation to the ends of the earth." But all that changed with the coming of the Jewish Messiah, who came as the light of the world. And he enabled the Jewish people to receive his light into them. Worse still, from the viewpoint of the devil, was that the Gentiles were also receiving his light into them. And there was nothing that the devil could do to reverse it. All he could try to do was to divert what had happened. And so he used that ploy, which he'd used with such devastating effect in the Garden of Eden, beginning with the question, did God really say? And then he added that Israel still has a continuing place in the plan of God. His strategy was to draw that part of the church which had not become shipwrecked away from the truth about Israel, to whom and through whom God had revealed himself and his righteousness. Instead, that the church would get a Gentilized Jesus, that it would introduce Gentilized practices, that its view of righteousness would not be the view that was gained from the Jewish scriptures, but from a Gentilized understanding of it. And that instead of the gospel being the doorway into the coming kingdom of the Messiah, it was all about something personal between me and God. And that is the great deception. It was all about getting that part of the church that was not shipwrecked thinking it had got the truth when actually it had not. And the effect of that has been hugely consequential through generation after generation. It may well have affected your understanding and my understanding of the gospel. We should be incensed about it. We should be so convinced of what it's done that we are willing to have any part of our thinking unbuttoned, that we may eventually stand in the truth of God. That we indeed may even be used to help others and to affect the church that we're a part of in these crucial end times in which we find ourselves. Now, if you'd like to think more about this, then please do go to our website, www.letthelion.com. Go to the Israel tab, and there you'll find a study for today's episode that will take you further into it. If you're watching for the first time, please do hit that subscribe button so that you'll get the Israel issue in the future direct. Please do tell all your friends about it, and I look forward to being back with you very soon with another episode of the Israel issue.